And we're live, everybody. Hey, everybody. It's Conscious Medium Brandon Ross bringing to you the day-to-day astrology. I think you're going to kind of like what I have to show you here. And as many of you know, holy Toledo. Oh, gosh, look at this. It's kind of answering for me. I've got like 5 different things. I'm trying something new. You can get my More Than a Medium media page over there on Facebook, or you can look up Medium T Brandon Ross over there on Facebook, or you can be right here on YouTube. We're doing kind of a dual channel thing. I'm trying out. I don't know all the bells and whistles yet, but I'll figure it out. But I thought this was a pretty important day. This is a super important day, really, when you get right down to it. This is kind of how do you want to say this? A day of reckoning, so to speak. By the way, the 4s have come up a lot of time for Mr. Trump. Why? How? Well, let's not forget, it was April 4th that he actually was indicted first time. 4s are wild, everybody. And by the way, what else can we talk about the 4s? But also, how about a fixed, or how about a mutable Grand Cross? What I'm about to show you is to show you why it is that today was not a day for infamy for Donald J. Trump. Now, we haven't gotten the actual mugshot yet, and Lord knows it's going to get plastered all over the place. Let's remember this man for the way he looks right here. That smiling, shit-eating grin going, I can get away with everything. Or we can call it a day of reckoning and say all good things must come to an end. We'll believe you if we want to believe you. Yeah, Midas Touch is actually a really good channel. I watch Ben Macelis all the time. I think he's got some good stuff over there. Yeah, I could talk more about some of the political stuff that I take a look at. But before I go there, just to let you know, I've actually invited Ben Macelis onto my stream of consciousness because I can actually show him why he's successful. It's kind of funny. It's kind of fun. But anyways, so taking a look at Donald J. Trump. Now, as many of you know, today he was indicted last week. Today is his arraignment. He had to go in. They had to do the due process. Fani Willis, in the district attorney for Fulton County there in Georgia, is basically like, nobody's above the law, especially you. And I shouldn't say especially you, because that's kind of the spin that Donald Trump wants you to believe. He is held accountable for anything and everything that he's doing. That is it, guys. This is accountability. It is not a witch hunt. He did it. They suspected him. He kept, and it's funny, each one of the things, if you start to take a look at it, you're like, oh, well, yeah, he made a phone call to a solicitor general, which is also the guy in charge of voting and all that other good stuff. And that's, in and of itself, it's not, okay, fine, he said some shady shit. But when you started to piece together that it was actually a conspiracy, what he is being charged with is the same as mobsters, because it was a coordinated, organized effort for them to, everybody was on the same page, which means that there was a 0 point, which is the only way that this is going to happen. He has 19 co-conspirators, or is it 18 co-conspirators plus him? The dude's screwed. By the way, 18, do I have to talk about the number 9 here? Come on. But I am going to talk about 4s here quite a bit. So Donald J., of course, as we know, been indicted for his 4th time. By the way, his first indictment was 4-4. Could have seen this one coming, everybody. Now, they've talked about some other things that may or may not happen. But when you look at it in the succession of how each one of these has happened, the first one was about money laundering, lying about it, blah, blah, blah. Minor in the world of things, right? The second one breached into a little bit more, where it's kind of like, hey, listen, you've got, documents. You could be considered a treasonist. Like, and believe it or not, that's not as serious as it gets. And then it became the January 6th riots, how he was the co-conspirator of that and the orchestrator of it. And now he's got election fraud. Guys, if you think he stands for America, you're full of shit. By the way, just a political statement here. I am perfectly okay if they put Joe Biden through this exact same ringer. They should. Leadership is at a premium right now. And what I'm about to show is why it is that maybe, just maybe, we might be turning the corner here because we're holding him accountable. All right, guys, on to the astrology. Let's take a look at this here. And by the way, I have no problem making myself a little bit smaller here. Kind of how you go here. All right, so I'm not going to bore you with this entire chart, but I want to put a focus in on this. I'm going to actually talk about how the North and South Node are really playing havoc on him right now. Now, sometimes when the true grand crosses happen, it is when they're one on top of the other, right? Yeah, Mars trying to Pluto. Hang on to that. So, oh, and by the way, you know what number 4 is to Brandon when it comes to the law? I have gotten 4 speeding tickets. So let me tell you something. I threw myself at the mercy of the court all 4 times, corrected the ticket, and then moved on for that, okay? That's what grown-ups do, everybody. Not Donald Trump. But let me show you this. So the 10th house, what is the 10th house, everybody? I'm waiting. It's about your career. It's about your public life, right? He was born with the sun in the North Node in conjunct to Uranus. So guess what? He's going to be an oddball in the public eye, basically. He's meant to be famous. He's meant to be a little bit weird. By the way, most of us can get along with that. If we were to put makeup on him and have him dance up and down a stairwell, you'd call him the Joker. But he ran our goddamn government for a little while. And guess what? He ran it right into the ground and challenged everything all at the same time. By the way, my political views are not mutually exclusive. We're at war right now because of our other current president. Don't get me started. But on the flip side of this, there is a conjunct that I want to point out before I get into some of the nitty gritty. Vesta, that book looking thing is wide open, kind of like, hey, here's the knowledge coming out of it. Vesta is the great teacher, the learner, right? For you to learn lessons in life. Well, look at this, hanging out right over his son. Guess what, son? School's in session. And it's going to be a very public whipping. Lessons are being served. Will he learn them? Well, that's a whole other topic now, isn't it, right? We get excited when we see people come to justice, right? Whether it's somebody that cuts somebody off and then they get into a traffic accident, little bad brand right there, right? I mean, come on, we don't want to see people get hurt. But when people get their comeuppance, their justice, their what have you, there's a little bit of part where we're like, okay. This dude from day one said, I'm going to live by the vote. I'm going to die by the vote. I'm going to live by the public opinion. I'm going to die by the public opinion. And guess what? By the way, I still stand behind everything that I've said about him from day one. Come April into May of next year, he will not be in this country. I will say this 100 times because I'm going to do a compilation with how many times I've said it. Now, when I took a look at the rest of his chart, let's move on because I've got other things to show you here. I wanted to pay attention to the squares. Now, the squares, let's just talk about squares for a second. They look like this, right? This one goes into this one when this one's not looking and vice versa, right? It's a quick and sudden reaction. It typically has a negative connotation to it. There are squares that are actually very positive because it gets you up off your butt, right? It becomes that flame under that tushy, so to speak, right? Did I just say the word tushy over national air? I think I did. Got 10,000 viewers. Wonder if any of them looked up tushy. Anyways, but when I take a look at this, I see a couple of things here. Look at the number of squares that I've highlighted here. And by the way, feel free to give me comment because a lot of you guys have given me really good information that has helped me start to realize like, hey, I got to have to kind of present this a little bit differently. So I really like that you are giving me that outlet. And thank you so much for the conversation pieces. Thank you so much for letting me know that this could be a little bit different, right? Will he run? No. Oh, you mean for election? Or do you mean in society? He is a runner. He doesn't like to be held accountable. But look at these squares. You have Mercury. And by the way, what is Mercury? Mercury is about action, right? Mercury also went retrograde. Mercury is in Virgo. Hello, mutable Earth sign. So you're square to the moon and the sun. You are square to Uranus. Quick and sudden changes. He's running to KFC. No. He's getting his Big Macs. And to his North and South Node. Now, the thing I want to recognize, and I want to point this out to you guys, at the top here, at the tippy top here, we have Donald Trump's, that is his natal chart. That's why this is important. On the side is the transit reports for what's going on today. So the inner wheel is the top, and then the outer wheel is the transit, right? Like what's going on in the sky here. And by the way, don't get hung up on where I choose on this. It's the East Coast. Everybody's okay, right? But look at the other squares, right? You have got Neptune. Now, we talked about this before. Neptune being squared to the sun. temporarily to the moon for about 2.5 days. Guess what? That's playing havoc. You've got Uranus being square to Mars. Ho, ho, whoa, whoa. Talk about getting under attack. Of course he's feeling attacked. He's got Uranus going, hey, Mars, what are you going to do about it? Come on. Here we go, everybody. Here we freaking go. And then let's just kind of like shift gears a little bit. Oh, I also put in the Pallas Athena. Let me talk about this. I'd really like to do an asteroid show where we talk about Pallas Athena, Vesta, Lilith, that sort of thing, right? So, oh, and by the way, Vesta, I should have highlighted this one, is square to Vesta. So his lessons are he's getting his comeuppance. His entire chart is about getting his comeuppance, by the way. But now let's take a look at the transits of the North and South Node. Now, if you watch any of my stuff on North and South Node, then you kind of know I get serious about it, right? Like it's kind of like it's shut up or put up time. So what he has squared there is Venus. His world is shooken. It has been shaken upside down, inside out. Boy, you're turning me. Inside out. And you've also got Saturn. His Saturn is getting plugged here. Now, I'm going to show it to you in actual real time here. So the first thing I want to show you is where the nodes are in the sky. Notice how the outside is a transit here, everybody. We've got it in of course, Aries and, of course, Libra. And we are square. Look at that, square right into the 11th house. So what this means to me is first of all, the placement of the nodes here are about communication, saying and doing the right thing, and then education, travel, spiritual learning and understanding. And here's a little bit of fun fact. And by the way, some of you astrology junkies, I know who you are. I know who you are. I know by your comments, you're like, it's a stellium. I know you guys. I see you. It's all good. But does anybody else get the inside joke here? That it's Lady Justice, Lady Liberty getting a little revenge? Because look at this North Node over Ceres. What is Ceres but fertility? It's a feminine divine of creativity. He created his own mess, everybody. And now he's got to pay for it. Whoop. Can I get a whoop whoop? I think I can. Just telling you. That's where it's going. So I thought that this was kind of an interesting look at the way. Oh my gosh, is the mugshot awful? Is it up already? I really did hold off on this to try and get it. There are some fake mugshots out there. Don't fall for them. Wait till you get the real thing. And by the way, I will absolutely, I'm going to Google this. And if I need to bring it online, oh my gosh, somebody's going to ping me and say, here it is, B. Donald J. Trump mug shot. Oh yeah. Oh, what an asshole. Yeah, this is pretty substantial. Yeah, he's just kind of looking up a little mean at it, like as in like, I don't want to be that. By the way, nothing says you are in trouble than that look. Right? Yeah, Trish, I totally feel like that. Julie, good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Willow, thank you. Thank you for giving me he does look like an axe murderer. I'm going to give you an amen on that one. Yes, Willow, I am doing this on their KFC. Yeah, Lady Ann, I totally agree with you there. Moon Direct Tarot, by the way, total shout out. Go like and subscribe her now. I love geeking out on astrology, so go for it. You got it, girl. I'm on it. I'm down with it. Totally down with it. Magical Mermaid, thanks so much for hanging on there. Arlene, great to see you again. Judy, Latoya, how are you? Firefly. Yeah, great to see you guys. I'm glad you guys are tuning in here. And over on the Facebook side, I see a few of you tuned in. It goes in and out, so I'm figuring out all of this. Yeah, I thought it was interesting that, Giuliani looked like he was a mental health patient or somebody that was off his meds and was lost. I think it was funny that Mark Meadows is actually trying to fight it. He might actually get arrested. He's going to get a warrant for his arrest, which I'm not taking joy in any of this, by the way. It is a terrible thing that we are at this point. But here's the one thing I'm going to point out. And again, it's in that 9th house where the North Node is there. Is that, guess what? Lady Liberty is catching up to you. Lady Liberty is catching up to her. The fertility. If you believe in this country that we have an ounce of integrity of who we are, all of the right things are happening. Even if you support Donald Trump. And by the way, I know Donald Trump supporters watch this and they're like, this is bullshit, but whatever. This is a sense of accountability. And by the way, all he had to do was tailor it. I'm going to say this honestly. Also, what I see with this exact chart that I have up, he could also turn this around to his advantage. He could win people over, everybody. He could come in and say, you know what? My opinion is that it was fraud based on the information that I got, so forth and so on. If I say to the American public, I have lost and I conceded, by the way, he's never conceded the race. They just went ahead without him. They're like, well, it's a formality. But now it could have legal implications. How many people would he win over if he said, you know what? I got to have better people around me, because he'll never take full responsibility. We know this, right? He'll blame his sons. He'll blame Jared. He'll blame this lawyer, that lawyer, everybody under the sun. And what will be interesting about it is that at the end of the day, he could actually turn this to his advantage, everyone. 100%. 100%. So this in and of itself is actually a cardinal T-square, right? Because you have Aries in the North Node, you have Libra in the South, and then you have Cancer in, with Saturn and Venus in conjunct here in the 11th house. That placement right there, Venus and Saturn in the 11th house, if he turned this around, it just came in and said, sorry, guys. You know what? I think because of all my experiences, I can do this. He's riding the train of disillusion. He thinks everything's against him. He's a classic narcissist, right? The whole world's against him and blah, 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 right? But on the flip side of this, he won't. We know that. I really hope that he does that. Hey, Elizabeth, how are you? Yes, thank you for hanging on there. Catch the rest later. We'll see you later. I know you're on there with me. I do know that you're on there with me. All right, so listen, I want to get back to this here, and I want to move this over to basically what I've been advertising, which is the mutable cross here. I don't want to call it. So first of all, let's talk about mutable energy here for a second before we get too far into it. Mutable energy. So you have your 3 archetypes, right? You have Cardinal. I just talked a little bit about that. Cardinal is the initiator. Cardinal is the one that says, yo, Holmes, I got a problem and I'm going to solve it, right? The fixed energy says, nah, I don't really think I don't want to move. I just don't want to move. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm not going to move, right? And then you have the mutable energies, right? The mutable energies are about change. That's actually where you find a lot of creative energy. That's where you find a lot of debatable energy. Fun and adventurous in a lot of ways, but actually when you get into the elemental parts of astrology, you find that there's a ton of creative energy. And by the way, this is ruled by, right? Take it from the top. We got Gemini. Gemini is the air sign representative in this, right? And then we've got Sagittarius, the fire sign representative, right? And then we've got, I don't get a lot of sleep. Virgo, I skip Virgo. Virgo's the earth sign. And then Pisces being the water sign. By the way, those two are opposite of each other. That's why my brain went there. So let's take a look at this. And when you get this type of energy, it is change. You don't have a choice. There ain't no choice. There ain't no choice. There ain't no choice. So let's do an interpretation. And I'm just going to pay attention to the yellow lines here. Hope this is easier for you guys to see. I'm going to take a look down here. God, I love my work. Leo rising, everybody. Thank you very much. But look at this. You have Mercury and Mars in conjunct, splitting the uprights with what's going on over here with Neptune. Delusionary behavior. Oh, by the way, over is Vesta. Maybe I'll learn my lesson. He's going to spin it in his own brain so he can rationalize it, right? But you have this going from the first and second house over to the eighth house. By the way, the first house with Mercury in it represents his actions, his personal accountability. Mars in the second house is about all of the people that, quite frankly, he's pissed off, right? And the delusion of Neptune in Pisces, by the way. I mean, double delusion in the eighth house, in the Scorpio house. Deceptions and lies, everybody. Whew. Coming undone, baby. Coming undone. So that's the first line here. So delusional, right? Now, remember when I talked about Vesta? Vesta's showing up going hello as well. But look at what's happening to the sun and the north node in conjunct down to the north node and the moon. By the way, he was born on a full moon, everybody. Ow! Narcissist. Oh, that's a soundbite if I ever heard one. Born on a full moon doesn't mean it's about me, but now I can see the light, and then we'll have to see. So you got the sun and the north node. The north node's about the destiny. By the way, sitting in Gemini, you know, the applicable things to Gemini are, I mean, listen, everybody's got the good, the bad. You take the good, you take the bad, you take them all, and there you have astrology, right? Gemini sun, Gemini placements allow you to not only have a high emotional intelligence, traditionally, being able to look at both sides, to be rational, to be able to collect data, to be curious. It can also mean being two-faced. It can also mean being not able to make a decision without somebody else telling them what to do, right? And oh, by the way, now take a look at the fact that the full moon's on the other side in Sagittarius. South node in Sagittarius, by the way, he's a bit of a pleasure seeker, sitting there in his fourth house, which kind of sort of tells a tale about a lot of wives, a lot of people he might have paid, whether it be through prenup or otherwise. Here it is. But hey, listen, I'm still going to say out of the gate, he can still turn this around, everybody. I'm telling you. But will he? Because one of the things that goes on in the eighth house where Neptune is whether or not he's capable of going through his death, his renewal, his recycle. Can he go through the ego death? His placements show it's a lesson. He's just got to use it. By the way, the dynamics of karma is also here in the T-square that I showed you 2 slides ago, where Venus and Saturn run into the current nodes. This is a lesson bringer, everybody. It's nothing but lessons. Can he change? It's going to change him. He can say, I don't want to change. Bonnie Wills says otherwise. Jack Smith is like, oh, hell no. By the way, the New York indictment is so in the back burner. Who cares if he paid off? Guys, he's paid off more people for the nonsense because it makes better sense for him to do that than it does to ever face responsibility. Can we take a look at the United States and how we are a logistics society? Anybody else ever have an insurance policy that you plug in and then they go, well, your insurance policy is X amount of money, but if you go X minus 20%, will you take it right now? Or do you want to wait the 5 years for us to pay out? You say yes all the time. You take a plea deal too. We're built on cutting the deal. That's how this guy got into power. He cut the deals. By the way, don't think for a second he doesn't have dirt on people. Did you know that Donald Trump has actually flip-flopped between Republican and Democrat and independent for a whole cycle? No less than 7 times. He's Republican value. By the way, guys, if you think this is a Republican problem, it's not. It's a United States problem. I'm going to say this again. Donald Trump is a United States problem, but he can also be a United States solution. What are we made of? What is this going to look like? Well, based on his chart, we're going to have a real opportunity to see how this plays out. Could he throw himself at the mercy of the law and just say, listen, guys, I screwed up. I'll do anything to do whatever. But I'm going to keep my own prediction intact and tell you 2024, he is out of here. He is not in this country. I'll retire if he doesn't. Right? Oh, yeah. Throw in Lilith there, Trish. Good call. Yeah, the Lilith. Listen, the Lilith thing, this is why this is a debate, right? So Lilith is sitting in in the first house right now. By the way, in conjunct to Pallas Athena to his, to this. And I could have very easily make this argument that Lady Justice kind of is represented in Ceres as well as Pallas Athena. It is the goddess Athena, as in like that quiet, firm, that firm woman that knows who she is and isn't going to put up with the shit. She's the Queen of Swords, basically, right? And then you got Lilith, that's kind of like, there's skullduggery to be had. I'm in, right? By the way, skullduggery is my new favorite word. He is a flight risk. I'm telling you guys, he is out of here. Give him 11,780 hours of community service. Oh, Magical Mermaid, comment of the night. Fantastic. Isn't that the number of hours he was in office? If I can do the math correctly, I think that's what it is. Yeah, so Midas Touch has that as well. I'm giving a shout out to them. I love those guys over there. I also like Pac-Man. Yeah, I also like the legal breakdown that I always want to call him Brian Austin Green. That's not his name. But he's also got Rob Kushner, who's a really great scholar in this. And listen, you have, of course he made a joke about taking off. Of course he did. He's never been held accountable in his damn life. Why start on a Thursday in August? Like, come on. Hey, Rose Elliott, I see you there. How you doing? Esther, thanks so much for commenting. Magical Mermaid, killer comment. Moon Directed Tarot, fantastic. Oh, that's how many votes he was looking for. Okay, yeah, there you go. I'm just looking for 11,781 votes. That's one more than we had. And by the way, if he didn't say one more than I have, he wouldn't be colluding. It's crazy. Yeah, Meadows, I think, is going to push the envelope there, Esther. I really do. I really, really do. He future paces his moves. Yeah, he really does. Could out there mean death? Julie, great commentary. Listen, I think I'm going to tell you why. And Penny and I talked about this on a previous Whiskey and Bagels. And by the way, guys, Penny and I talk to each other on a regular basis. I love her to death. She's got to manage her stuff right now. I'm managing my stuff. It's all good. We're still besties. She still sends me awkward photos of various injuries of hers. I love you, Penny. And I give her updates on stuff going on here. We've just been slammed. I got 18 summers with my little guys, so I can't. It's just the way I roll. I've got a retreat next week in Shasta, but I'm dropping some videos. I've got some full moon stuff going on. But in a moment of honesty, when you look at this entire kind of like flow of things, the question was whether or not it's his death. The 8th house, the 6th house, and the 12th house would really kind of be high indicators for that. There's other placements that kind of come in, like when the crosses come in. If you look at the Sinead O'Connor one, hers was like blatant. And by the way, when you look at the Prigozhina one that I did yesterday, holy crap! Like that was not a good travel itinerary for about 3 weeks. I would have laid low for a little bit, right? No, I don't see specific medical issues necessarily. DC Sparkle, love that name. But I will have to tell you, I don't think that this is physically the issue. Not until there's other placements, not that whatever. Currently, right now, that's what I know. Now, as things move into place, I would pay attention to the 6th, 8th, and 12th house. He's got a lot of activity there in the 12th house, but I think this is about his undoing. I really do think. I think that the way that his lesson will be presented to him is by living. How about that one? Well, listen, guys, you're starting to move into the hate lane, and I don't do that. What I will do, though, is tell you, keep it clean, man. what makes us great as a country? Seriously, we work hard. We generally want what's best for everybody. Now, that doesn't mean that we're all created as do-gooders or volunteers or any of that other stuff. But at the end of the day, we'll hold the door open for each other. And oh, by the way, on the next level, it's about understanding what your place is in society, in community, and obligations, right? Social contracts. Up to and including when you get caught doing something you shouldn't be doing, you say, I'm sorry. You might not have learned the lesson, or you might not be able to regurgitate exactly what you did or how you did it, but you go through it. Meanwhile, most of us in the spiritual path made a mistake somewhere along the lines, and we have spent the rest of our days trying to rip it apart to say, oh gosh, that's the reason why. Mom did this did that relationship sucked, this schooling was whatever. We all do it. The emotional intelligence community is watching this right now. We don't have to talk about how we hold ourselves accountability in various levels. And by the way, some of us do it by spiritual bypassing, calling you out here. Just don't say it's spirit's will. You got to own some of your shit, guys. But on the other side of it, that's what makes us great. The fact that we can work through this process. He never learned to process. Do I have empathy for him? A tremendous amount. He was left to figure it out himself. He was based on one thing and one thing alone. How many units you got? How much money you got? He has only one barometer, and I know not the hour nor the place, but when he goes, he brings nothing with him. And I hope he is buried on the 18th green, so that then he can learn what his wife went through. Could you imagine waking up on the other side and going, I'm buried where? For a fucking tax write-off? She knew he was a piece of shit in life, but in death, she really saw it. By the way, I also think that, I'll say it, that's the thing that really should be investigated too. The how she passed and why she passed. Never sat well with me. Not once. It doesn't sit well with me that Jared Kushner got a $10 billion advance from foreign agencies. It also doesn't sit well with me that Joe Biden has been lying for his addicted son for years and hasn't stood up to him and let him be held accountable, because he's probably going to get in trouble himself. I just told it like it was, everybody, like it is. We've got a serious gut check in this country, and Donald J. Trump is giving us that gut check. Now, we can say for the rest of our days, well, we didn't do what he does. But how many times, I mean, it has become the lexicon of politics to do wrong and pretend it didn't happen, to say things and not be held accountable for those things being said, but instead turning the dial on everybody else and saying, look at what they did. Look at how they did. Why? It's not as bad as whatever. Stop the trend. Quit falling in love with what a piece of shit Donald Trump is. Start to look at your own integrity and say, this is why. By the way, and this is through my lessons to my son, right? I have one son that loves YouTube. He watches these videos. He thinks Donald Trump is like an orange god. Fortunately, he won't vote for about another 6 years, so I got some time to convince him. But what he didn't understand and what he was influenced by was rhetoric. And I had to point out to him, I go, that's great, but you have to see the other side to this. Let that be the pendulum swing. So he begins to understand, oh my gosh, that's not integrity. That's not what those things are. He's also 12 years old. He hasn't been challenged in that way yet. This is his first challenge. My first challenge as a dad with him. That's the shit that makes America great, guys. What I just talked about. My kid was going off the rail. My kid used a racial slur that wasn't even that bad. It was just, I'm not going to quantify or justify it. But he said something because this kid made him so mad. They were picking on him. He was being bullied. And I could have very easily just said, well, you were being bullied, so you can do whatever you want. Nope, part of the problem. That verbiage, that word you just used that I'm circling 100 times, don't ever use that again, because that's demeaning. That's derogatory. Yeah, but nope, you don't do that. That's not integrity. That word isn't going to fix him. You know what's going to fix him? Is for you to not use that word. for you to stand up to him and say, I know what this is, and talk directly to it. You're a bully. Who doesn't love you? Why do you think that I'm a target? What makes you believe you can treat me this way? Let's normalize actually standing up to it instead of counterattacking. That's what Fani Willis has done, everybody. And that's why I think this country's got a chance. Ooh, that just got real, didn't it? Hey, Sheila, yeah, words become things. We all need to be mindful of the energy, 100%. That's why I'm a conscious medium. We are all responsible. Exactly. Esther, OGs as well. Yeah, and politics is dirty. Why? Why? And listen, there's always been a little bit of something, right? I mean, we've all done it. We've all done the thing where you're up for a promotion, they're up for a promotion, and you're like, whatever they're going to do, I'm going to do something different, right? We all do it. It's a human nature thing. How about what made Martin Luther King great? It wasn't because he wasn't the best husband. It wasn't because he didn't fully understand the fact that he had to have his own personal integrity at times. Generally, he got it right, but he fell down. We all do. It was when he actually ripped the Band-Aid off and made you look at the actual problem. And he said, this isn't about color. It is about content and character. He said, if you make the race the problem, then you'll never see past whether they're a good person or not. I've said this 100 times. If a person is a jerk, call him a jerk. But it's not because of any of the qualifiers that you might say. And by the way, after working for 15 years in corporate recruiting and human resources, I'm here to tell you that protective classes are actually the problem. Why do we take census? I mean, I get that we need to have a head count, but unless King Herod's coming through and creeping death is coming in, well, I mean, what purpose do we have for census? What are the first 5 questions in census? What's your color? What's your income? How can I divide you this way? How can I divide you that way? How can I divide you another way? Why do we do the census if it's not to divide you? Well, it's to quantify. It's to qualidate. No, it's not. Because politics are dirty. It's dirty against the American people because that's how they divide us. We're at a turning point, and it's kind of a good one. What made Martin Luther King great? Because let's judge people on the content of their character, not the color of their skin. Let's not judge a former president by the color of his orange skin, but rather the content of his character. Can't think of a better way to claim that out. Ego, there you go. 3 of Swords is about the wounds. By the way, Gemini card right there. 2 wrongs, exactly. You can't do a 2 wrong thing, right? All right, guys, thanks for hearing what I have to say. Thanks for keeping a safe space for me to share even part of my journey as a parent, as a teacher, as an astrologer and a medium, right? All right, guys, I'm going to give you guys a heart tap to America that we're finally going to get this right in whatever way it is that we're meant to do it. We've got a really good idea here. We're not always right, but it's not as bad as what you think. Because the good guys are going to win, guys. One way or the other, the good guys are going to win. Hard tap out to you guys. Thanks so much for joining. Thanks for sharing, liking, and subscribing. Hit my website, sign up for my email list, get onto my weekly calls, and then, by the way, in September, I got a huge announcement going on. I'm going to go ahead and pull a card right here. Can't make this one up. I pull out the Justice card. Thank you very much, everybody. Love my work. I'm going to go turn on the air conditioner because it's 100 degrees in here. The Justice card comes out. Got an announcement here in September about a new tarot group that I'm going to be doing. You're going to love it. Those of you that are into my weekly calls, you've heard me tease it a little bit. I talk a little tarot every week. My mediumship group is taking off. We've got a lot of fun there. We're all full, but unfortunately, it is full. But the tarot group is going to be wide open. So pay attention, sign up for my email list, and stay tuned otherwise, guys. Hard tap. Keep going. See you guys soon. Thanks, Julie. Thanks, Trish. Great to see you, Esther. Sheila, as always, mwah. Love you guys. Keep going. Take care.